Today we're going to look at creating box and whisker plots. Sometimes you just see them called box plots. This is the last display you are creating for your project, and you will see 6 terms listed here. So all of these arrows point to one part of that box plot. So this is an example of a box plot here. We call it a box plot because you can see there's the box here, and then sometimes box and whisker because it has these sort of whiskers out to the side. And one thing about the box and whisker plot, it doesn't show all of our data. You can see we don't know what every single number is like a dot plot, so it's going to kind of show how spread out they are. So the first thing we have is the least value, and so that's this here, least value, the smallest number. Sometimes you'll see that called the minimum. And then we also have the greatest value. So that's this one down here. And sometimes you see that called the maximum. And then right here in the middle, pointing to that middle line segment there, that's our median. And then we have our quartiles, that first quartile of the lower half, and then the third. So here's the first quartile, sometimes called lower quartile. And then third quartile, sometimes called upper. And so these are 5 numbers that we all know how to find. We did this in chapter 9. And when you find these 5 numbers for your box plot, we sometimes call this the 5-number summary. The 5-number summary. Those are the 5 numbers that you need for a box plot. So in other words, the 5 numbers that summarize that. So the next page you should be on looks like this if you flip this over. So on this page, we're going to just fill in some blanks that kind of summarize some of the things I just talked about on the first page. So a box and whisker plot, as I said, you can't see every data point here. So we do often, we just use it to show us variability, how that's spread out across the number line, where the middle of your data is, that sort of thing. We use our quartiles, which we know divide it into 4 equal parts. There's 3 of them, but that makes 4 equal parts. And then those quartiles are related to medians, and that divides it into 2 equal parts. That's just saying you have a median down the middle, which makes 2 equal halves. We have our quartiles. The second quartile is actually the median. We typically say median as opposed to second quartile, but those would be the same thing. The first quartile is going to be the median of the lower half, and the third quartile is the median of the upper half. So we have found those things in chapter 9. Now we're just going to use those numbers to create our box plots. So let's go ahead and kind of review that here really quickly. So we're going to find the lower, middle, and upper quartiles. Remember that second one, that middle one's just your median. So to find your median, remember we just want to work our way to the middle here. And we're left with the 6 in the middle. So we could call that the median, or we could say quartile 2, and that's 6. Okay, so that's what's in the middle. Then you just split your data in half. So in this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers. So we're going to leave that median out. And then this becomes 1/2, and this becomes 1/2. So lower half, upper half. Okay, median of your lower half, right there in the middle. That's your first quartile. So that's 3. Middle of the upper half, work your way to the middle. That's your third quartile, we get 8. So go ahead and find your first, second, and third quartiles of number 9 here. And then pause your video and unpause when you are done. Okay, so here is what I got for those. My median was 5, my first quartile is 4, third quartile is 8. Make sure you pause and let me know if you have questions about any of this. This is what we did in chapter 9. Now we're going to take all of that information and we're going to apply that to creating the box and whisker plot. So if you turn this page over, these are the steps for making a box and whisker plot here. Step 1 is what we just did, finding the lower, middle, and upper quartiles. So that's the first thing you're going to do. Step 2 is just you create your number line, and remember when you do this on your projects, you're going to use a ruler, everything's going to be straight, but you're also going to have equal size spaces. So your number line really can just look very similar to your dot plot, but what you mark on the number line is going to be very different. So you're going to mark your greatest and your least value with dots, or your minimum and maximum. Once you've done that, you're going to draw your box, and your box goes from the lower quartile to the upper. And then you mark your median value with that little vertical segment that's down the middle, the boxes that you've seen on the couple of examples you've seen here. And then the last thing is drawing the whiskers. So going back to this first one, the first thing they did was put the dots at the least and the greatest. Okay. And then we found those 5 numbers. You put the dots at all of those. You draw your box. That means this is my first quartile, my third. You draw the box around that, the line segment at the median. And then this is just showing you that this is your whisker. Your whisker just connects your box to the greatest value, connects your box to the least value. So let's practice this. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is put the data in order from least to greatest. All right, then you need to identify your 5-number summary. So start with your least and your greatest values. So 2 is my least, 12 is my greatest. Okay, then you need to find your median. And once you've worked your way to the middle, that 6 is your median. Or median or Q2, second quartile. Now you need to split the data in half and find your first and third quartile. So I'm going to leave the median out. This is my lower half. This is my upper half. Work your way to the middle. So 4 is my first quartile. Work your way to the middle. 8 would be my third quartile. So first thing you want to do after you find your 5-number summary is just put a point on your number line for each of those. So 2 and 12, that's my greatest and my least and my greatest. So I'm not going to put it on the number line itself. It's going to go slightly above because I do need room to draw my box. And when you make this on your project, you may want to even use a ruler just to kind of make sure they're lined up on the same row there. Then I'm going to fill in my other 3, the 4, 6, and the 8. Oops, I didn't circle that one. So I'm going to put dots at 4, 6, and 8. Okay, next step is to draw the box. The box goes around your first and third quartiles, so that's the 4 and the 8. Remember on your projects, you will use a straight edge for all of this. We're just kind of sketching it out today. All right, next is the median. That median was that 6 right here, that middle dot. You just make a vertical line segment there. And then lastly, you draw your whiskers. So you just connect to the box. Your whiskers get connected to your box. So now what this shows us, we can see the smallest value, we can see the greatest value, we can see where most of the data kind of lies, we can see where the middle of the data is. You can see your interquartile range by taking this 8 minus this 4. That's what's the range that's inside of that box. So those are the kinds of things you could see on a box plot. Okay, so I'm going to have you pause your video and give this one a try following those same steps that we just did up front and the steps on the previous page. So start by putting your data in order and then finding that 5-number summary. When you're done, you can unpause your video to check your work. Okay, on this one we have an even amount of numbers. So I had 2 numbers in the middle, 13 and 14. So between there I had that 13.5. Here's my least and my greatest. Then I split it in half and got my first quartile and my third quartile. I plotted all 5 dots. I drew my box and then my median. And since it was 13.5, you'll notice it's just between the 13 and 14. And then I connected my whiskers. All right, last thing we're going to do is look at the data set. So if you look at this page here, we're going to come up with some data sets. So as I mentioned with a box plot, you're not going to see every single value on the box plot. So our answers could all vary here. But if you look at this first one, there is always going to be 5 numbers that are the same. Our least and our greatest, so in this case, we would have 1 and 11. Your middle is the 6. And then you have the 3 and the 9 being the first and third quartile. So we need 7 numbers, and right now we have 5. So we need to have 7 total. So you're going to fill this in with 2 more numbers. We need the 6 to stay in the middle, though. We need the 9 to stay in the middle here, and the 3 to stay in the middle here. So you want to put a number between 6 and 9, and a number between 3 and 6. Your numbers can repeat. That's okay. Okay, and then on the next one, we need 11 numbers. So I have my least and my greatest, 1 and 11 again. My middle number is 8. And then I have a 5 and a 9 for my first and third quartile. Now, if we have 11 numbers, that means my median's 8, and then I'm going to have 5 numbers here and 5 numbers here. And I want the 9 and the 5 in the middle, which means I need 2 on each side. So I need 1 here, and I need 2 here. I need 1 here, and I need 2 here to make my 11 numbers total. And you can fill those in. All right, and on the last one, we want 12 numbers for this one. It goes from 1 to 13. 8's in the middle. 7's the first quartile, and 13's the second. So what you'll notice about this one, and this actually this may come up on your project, that this is my greatest value, but it's also my third quartile. So you wouldn't have a whisker on this side. You would just have your box drawn there. So in this case, I want 12 numbers. I want 6 on this side and 6 on this side. But I want to keep 8 in the middle. So it's okay to use numbers that repeat. Okay, I could put an 8 and another 8 to show that no matter what, 8's going to be my middle number. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. I need 12. I need 5 more. So if I want 6 on each side, here's 4, here's 3, we want 8 in the middle. You want to keep the 13 in the middle here, the 7 in the middle here. So it's okay, again, to put another 13, put another 7. You can have numbers repeat to make sure they stay in the middle. So 1, 2, 3. You maybe want to put 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to put the 7 in the middle and the 13 in the middle here, but you need to get this one to 12 now, so 6 on each side. So I'll let you finish out that one. You've got your 8 in the middle, your 7, and then your 13 up here, and then you can fill in the spaces there to get 12 total. When you're done with that, you can go ahead and go to Big Ideas to start on your homework. You're going to keep these notes out and use them with you on the homework. You will have to rewrite your data values on paper to find your 5-number summary. So if you'd like to, you can just turn to the back side. It's blank, and you're welcome to use that as your scratch paper.